I'm grateful for it. I'm over here with that like Northwest singing I just can't wait to be king video. And
I just can't wait. Dude,
I actually, in fairness, I did not watch it.
Well, you know what? We're not going to talk shit
You
on
feel
that.
about 3 feet taller than I. You have to sit down.
Wait, I am seated.
First of all, your shoes are on the couch.
Is that wrong?
We're going to get in trouble by the people.
Well, it completes the fit, you know? So I don't know if I like these socks, though, with it. Okay, we're still trying to figure out. I feel like we haven't podcasted in months. Doesn't it feel like it?
Yeah, but it's only been like a week.
Wow.
Anyways.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. The Conscious Cowboys. You have Madison and Tess.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How's the morale today? How are we feeling?
Today, I actually feel a little bit more like myself. This has been a really rough week, if I'm being totally honest with you guys. Been a rough one. Not mental. I mean, okay, yes, the mental is affected, mainly physically. I've just gone through the ringer.
Yes.
So today is the first day I woke up feeling a little bit more comfortable physically and like, okay, I think we're on a horizon here where I'm starting to get past the shit and now I'm in the healing phase. So today is a better day, but I'm still having a really hard time looking over my right shoulder because I get like a...
Well, let's explain to the masses what's happening. You don't have to go into depth about it, but...
Well, okay, so I got a little surgery, which the sutures, the incision, the stitches are basically like right where I sit, right? So for the past two weeks, essentially, I've been sitting, favoring my left side body, like sitting on my left hip and forearm. And what that's done is that's kind of created a chain reaction up my body. So like my left shoulder and ribs and neck have all been almost on like high alert all week is how I can describe it, where I'm getting, it's called occipital neuralgia. It's a fun one where
makes you sound very smart.
Don't I sound like a doctor?
You are.
Occipital neuralgia, where you're getting like nerve sensations from basically the left side base of my skull behind my ear up into my scalp, where like you can't touch your scalp. You can't even touch your hair because it's that tender and sensitive. And it gives you ear pain that kind of mimics an ear infection, and it makes your eye hurt. And it's like, the only way I can describe it is you're like getting these jolts that shocks your body. And for a couple days span, I was getting like average 200 shocks a day from it.
Dude, that's honestly
it's
so scary.
So scary.
The only way that I can relate to that, because I've never had that occur to me, is that when I was in yoga yesterday and we had to do a back bend, and I've been having some maybe empathetic pain on my left shoulder, which is usually our neck area, which usually doesn't happen. It's usually my right side, but my left is bugging me.
Because it feels bad for me.
Yeah, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I took some of the pain away from you, honestly. That would make me feel better. Maybe that's why you feel so good today. So anyway, I was doing a back bend and I tipped my head back and I felt this electric shock go up my side. And I'm like, dude, nerve. I almost threw out my neck just now. Like, I gotta go.
Anything that's quick like that, that jolt, that's nerves.
It really fucked me up.
You did something
like,
to
you
it.
get like that, like hot, like heat throughout your whole body where you start like to sweat instantly.
Okay. So imagine that times
100.
Yes.
That's
more.
Not right.
And so yesterday I experienced a little bit of relief where it like wasn't happening as much. And today it's just, I've only had like 5 or 6 and it's almost, 1 p.m. So that's a really big
massive
deal.
Improvement.
Yeah. So I'm really excited. I've been getting acupuncture, but anyways, when you are in something like that physically, it takes such a toll on you, right? I felt really trapped in my body because I had all these physical things that I had to mitigate, but then I didn't have my usual tools to be able to mitigate them, right? I'm like, typically if I have like aches and pains, I'm like, I can just rest or go for a walk. But resting made me feel more uncomfortable and more stiff, and sitting down was really hard. And then like I can't exercise because I'm not supposed to sweat because I have stitches in an area that like, is maybe more prone to sweat. So then I'm like, oh my God, like what can I do?
Yeah. Tess and I were talking about this the other day about how important movement is to us in every sense of the word, and how movement helps us channel our emotions throughout our entire body. And I'm sure other people feel the same way too, but it helps with my emotional well-being completely. Is that sometimes when things are trapped within me, movement helps release them. And it helps me feel present in my body and helps me actually feel them so that I can release them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then when you don't have the ability to move your body in a way that you're used to, how do you?
Well, I mean, exactly right. I thought, okay, like the other night I felt like, oh God, I was like on my computer all day and I have neck pain and I'm supposed to be sedentary. I'm not supposed to exercise, but like I need to get out. So I went on a walk at night with Philip. Every step I took with my right, I was getting the shock. Step with the right, shock. Step. And that is so frustrating
Yeah.
and really plays games with you mentally. And like I had my best friend Sydney down here this past weekend, and you know, I want, like, my desire is to go have fun and hang out, and I just felt like, I can't do anything I normally do. And I'm very lucky. I'm very aware this is a temporary thing I'm going through. I have healing modalities that I can use to get my body through this. Like, I'm well aware of it, but it does still take a toll on you if your quality of life is not as great as it could be. Like, you obviously feel some sort of way.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, how did I get through it? I think I was just really honest with myself and with those around me of what I was experiencing. So instead of trying to pretend like nothing was wrong and like, yeah, I can go do that, I had to be really honest with where I was. And like, I honestly don't think I can go do that right now.
Yes.
Like, we have to just, you can go, but like, I can't. Or I'm in so much pain. Like, I really need your help doing this, which I'm someone who has a hard time accepting help. At least I think it's that way.
You definitely are.
Yeah. And so for me to be like, can you please rub this tiger's balm on my neck and like massage, but then not too hard because it's super painful. That's just really humbling. But I feel like being honest with what you need and actually allowing for help is how you get through the time.
Right. But then, so then I'll ask a further question is when you're feeling bottled up and you feel that you need some sort of release from emotional things that are happening within you and you can't use movement as a channel to release that, what do you replace that with?
Well, I mean, like, I think I had to rely on other things. One, I had to communicate with people. Like, I had to be like, okay, I have to express to you like what I'm thinking and feeling, because typically I would just like go and move my body or we would go do something else. But because I can't utilize that tool, like, let me sit down and like, I need to articulate to you how it act, like what my experience is right now. So then I don't feel so alone, because I'm looking around and everybody's healthy and happy, you know, for the most part. And you just feel like really alone. And you're like, no one else is having these electrical shocks. Like, I feel so not normal and this is so crappy. But I would say like also finding other moments of joy where like I started seeing an acupuncturist and being able to gua sha my neck, or I went and got like this ashwagandha powder where I can like make a nice little drink for myself. That has helped me, because I feel like, okay, while I might not have access to other things that I would rely on to keep me feeling good and like excited, then what else do I have?
Yeah, I think that's something to highlight is finding joy. Like that to me has been such a theme, which I'm sure we'll go off on another tangent about themes in just a little bit. But finding joy has been a highlight in my own life recently, because I think that that's what makes life good. Like a well-lived life is full of joy. Obviously it's full of pain and so many other things, but to bring joy into your life willingly and like knowing that you have the power to bring that joy in your life, even though you're lacking movement, for example, lacking something that makes you feel it on a regular basis, like it's such a gift to be able to bring that to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to touch on, is like, how do you bring the joy in if what you normally brings you joy you don't have access to? And everyone's is so different, right? I mean, for you recently, your life looks very different from how it used to look. And
yeah,
both have been very joyful, but like now it's completely different.
Yeah, I feel like I've lived intentionally for a long time, but more so now. Like a lot of moves that I make are from something deep within, where I'm just like, this is an intentional movement. And sometimes I don't even know what it's going to yield, but I just do it.
And when you say intentional movement, what does that mean?
Like, I think just being intentional with
How you spend your
myself and
time?
decisions. Yeah. And how I spend my time, because I feel like I look at time differently now, and differently, maybe I just value it more. So it's like something that is a privilege to me is all of the time that I have. And I think that like as I get older, like I always want to make sure that I have said time. You know, like I have time to do what I want to have time with my loved ones. So that's like really important to me. So I've been intentional with how I spend it.
Yeah. That brings me to, we've been watching Alone, right? And the contestant who's on it had a little bit more of like a challenged upbringing. And he was expressing how time is such a privilege, right?
Yes.
Because if you are faced with kind of like unforeseen, challenging circumstances that require you to like basically leave and go out and like work really hard and make ends meet, you don't have time to like focus on yourself, on reading and on yoga and things like that. So then you just, I guess my point in saying that is being able to honor when you do have that space, because it's obviously going to ebb and flow, and there will be times, just like there's been times in your life where you don't have that space to take care of yourself in this way. So when you are in this space, I feel like being able to lean in and not feel guilty about that and being like, wow, how lucky am I to be able to do this right now?
Yeah. And then changing it into like, what am I going to do with this? Yeah. Yeah. And I think that to me, I would add that like, as I keep defining what a successful life looks like to me, time would be one of them. Instead of thinking like, oh, I need to bust my ass for 60 hours a week and then buy this huge house and that's my success. It's like, okay, well, how can I work so that I have the time that I need in order to feel like I have a fulfilling life on my own terms?
Yeah. And you just went on a trip with your cousin where she lives somewhere like a little bit more rural, right?
Yes, up north in California.
Slower pace of life. I mean, obviously she works like an insane amount.
She's a boss.
Yeah, she's insane. But outside of the working hours, like her homestead and like how she spends her free time is very different from what we have here.
Yes.
And when you came home and you were sharing how nice it was, it really made me even reflect of like what we fill our time with sometimes. Like you just get carried away in it and you think like, oh, now what? And then you think about it and you're like, actually, I could be so happy with so much less.
Yes.
And not that we have a lot, right? I mean, everyone who comes over is like, wow, everything you have, you're so minimal. Like that's like the biggest reply we get to our life. But I just think you even scale it back further from there. Like, why even live in a place that's really busy and has like tons of congestion and all these opportunities, like 1,000 restaurants and bars and this and that? Like, while that is really cool to experience, if you peeled it all back, what do you really need to be happy? Like you need sunshine, fresh air, books, animals, nature,
water,
books,
mountains. I know I was telling Tess, and this is such a rudimentary example, but I was telling her that when I was with my cousin, we were driving around and everyone's in a Subaru, for example. There's a lot of Subarus. Maybe I saw a few upper scale cars, for example, a Range Rover. We see Range Rovers probably about 100 a day because the town that we live in is very wealthy. And so I was thinking about that when I was with my cousin. I was just like, when I'm in our town, I think about like, oh, a big house, like nice car, like I want all of that. And then when I was with her for the last 4 days, I just scaled back and I was like, well, do I really need that? Like having a car like we have currently, like why is that not enough? And thinking just about how different our lifestyles are, like that's why I value traveling so much, even if it's just a few hours away, is because you come back with a new lens on life, like a new perspective on things. Like, and I was joking with my cousin, her name is Kelly, and I was saying like I have a new Kelly lens on life. Like there are things that I do differently and how I move throughout the world because of how I was influenced on that trip, even though it was just a few days, you know?
Yeah. Aw.
Like
we're in a mood where we will cry at anything.
Dude,
so be prepared if
I seriously am I just am emotional. Like I was telling Tess, like I have just been feeling so much recently, like deeper than I've ever felt in my whole life. And I think growing older, like that is just such a gift, is the more you experience, the more that you feel and can relate to other obstacles in your life or to other people, for example. So the feelings, and also I would say that that's like one of my purposes in life. Like I've written that in my journal. It's just like to feel. Like that's also why I like reading. It's because it makes me have such strong emotions where I'm like, this experience of these feelings is so euphoric to me. Like even if I'm crying or like there's pain in it, I'm just like, I want to feel this. Like it's this is vivid. Part of being human. Like yeah. So I like that. And also I live like a very calm existence for the most part. So then when I feel these strong feelings, I'm like, oh, it's like a drug. You're just like, oh my God, what's that? Like, I kind of like it. It's freaky shit. Oh my God. But yeah, it's just very cool. And I was actually sending an audio message to my cousin Kelly, who we were just talking about. And I was telling her, wait, I seriously lost my train of thought. Talking about Kelly? Feelings and
lens on life and
oh no,
living slow and
yes, literally all of the above. Maybe it'll come back to me. I don't know.
It always does, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But anyways, so how's the morale for you? I mean, you asked me that question. We went on a whole tangent. How's your morale?
Oh yeah. So I was telling Tessa, I like asking, like I typically ask myself, like, okay, how can we increase morale right now? Like if you're not feeling good, like what can we do? Do we need like a fun drink? Do we need to go make some tea? I don't know, whatever, a snack. So I asked Phil and Tess this morning. I was like, how can we boost morale? Like it usually can just be like a little thing. And my morale right now is good. Yeah. Like even though I feel, oh, dude, I just remembered about the feeling thing. Okay. So I was sending this in the audio message is that it came around again. Good for us.
You got to ride the wave while it's here. Go.
Dude, I fucking do.
Go.
Okay. So I was telling Kelly, I was like, in my early 20s, I deadened like my senses or like my ability to be able to feel. Like I did not nourish myself for the most part, not only with food, like I just didn't nourish myself in my life. And so now that I am, like I have all of this, like my senses are heightened now, I feel. And so all of these rushes of feelings are coming to me and I'm like, oh my God, this is what it is like to be human. Like it's insane.
I've never seen you cry or laugh so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many years we've been friends, but it's insane.
Yeah. Like life experience has been increased fully and I really am cherishing every second of it. So that was my thought on that.
I love it. Okay. Back to morale. How can we boost morale?
Yes. Well, I think that's also number one is a valuable question to ask yourself if you're just feeling shitty or you're feeling some sort of feelings that you don't want to feel. Like how can we alter this space just for now, even if it's for the next 5 minutes? Like it's good to feel those juicy, happy, joyous feelings, even if it's just fleeting. So I think number one, that's great to ask yourself. And I think all in all, my morale is good. Is that what we were asking? Yeah. I feel good and I'm happy to be on the couch doing this podcast.
I know. Me too.
Yeah. I've missed it. So yeah, there's that. Okay. So I have notes. My next topic, there's a lot of
I love this.
Random stuff. Okay. So let's see.
It's like cracking open your mind.
No, I know. It's because sometimes I just like keep this like piece of paper in my journal, and like, sometimes I just like have random thoughts and I just write on it and I'm like, okay, can any of these be used on the podcast? So something that I was talking to Tess about is that recently I've noticed that we've had themes for the week. And one of ours, which I think we mentioned this a few podcast episodes ago, one of ours was compassion. We had compassion for our friends who were acting in a way that we didn't really deem as being a good way, but we could understand them. We had compassion for what they were going through and how they were seeing it through their lens. Okay. And then last week, synchronicities was my theme. And I just kept noticing things that were happening in my life that would relate to some other area of my life. For example, I was talking to Kelly, again, my cousin. I was talking to her about life in general and just how we've been reflecting. Like we send audio messages every day to each other, me and Kelly, and we like reflect back on our lives. And as I was telling Kelly that in the car over the audio message, I went into yoga and the instructor started talking about reflecting back on your life. So like synchronicities in that way, where I was just like, how is it possible that I was literally just on this train of thought and somehow my yoga instructor is also on the same train of thought? So there are all these little things, and synchronicities kept happening within that week. And I was just thinking everything is so delicately interconnected, and to realize that's just so fun to me. And what I was wanting to bring up about these themes is that it's really fun to sort of do that at the beginning of your week or whenever you figure out what your theme is, and then to relate these little things that happen in your life going back to said theme. Like, it not only helps you like observe what's happening in your life, but it just makes it more special. And also, I would say it makes you more present with what's going on. And I'll add is it helps you learn some lessons that maybe you haven't had your eyes open to. So my theme for this week is, what are you waiting for? Big question mark, maybe exclamation point at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's because I was explaining this to Tess earlier, is because I am obviously an avid reader. Okay. Starting this year, I just love reading. And one of the books that I'm reading right now is Crescent City. And in the book, in the series that Sarah J. Maas, the author, writes about, she writes about immortals. So people who live for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. And there's a theme in the book that they were talking about, kind of like, if they ask themselves, like, what are we waiting for? We have so much time, like, in our whole lives, but we wait because we think that we have time. And so I was like, okay. So then I was also reading, I read many books at a time. I was reading Every Summer After, and I just finished it a few days ago. And that was also a theme in the book. It's like, they thought the main character thought he had so much time, but it just was wasted because he waited too long. So then it made me reflect on my own life. And I'm like, there's so many things where I think, oh, I just have time. But what if I don't? Like, what if something, I mean, hopefully not, but like I could die tomorrow, you know? And there's all these things that I didn't do because I thought I didn't have time. And obviously you can argue against this fact. There's so many things like maybe you can't do at this particular moment. Like, I can't buy the house on the hill and have all my friends live with me at this moment. Just I can't, just not right now. But there are some things where I think you can ask yourself. I was literally just like scratching under my tube top, like on my boob, and I'm like, people can see me. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, I think there just is worth asking yourself, like, if I don't have all the time in the world, so what can I do right now that I've been sitting on?
Yeah, and I think you have time until tragedy or something that shakes that foundation happens, right? It might not be tragedy for you specific, but might be someone that you are friends with or are close to. It could even be a stranger, right? So I feel like having access to social media and just like the greater population, you do see it more frequently. And then it's sad because you almost become like immune to it in a sense where it hits you, but then you like have been exposed to that type of tragedy so much that then, you know, that just, it's like a tumbleweed blowing past. And then it really does take like slowing down and letting the tragedy or like the reality of life and the world and how short it can be sit with you and resonate with you so that you can actually move forward with that in mind. Because if you live a fast-paced life, like most of us do, and then you're constantly bouncing from one thing to the next, if you get wind that like, oh, this really tragic thing has happened in this person's life, and you are like, oh, wow. But then it doesn't hit you, you don't feel it. How do you expect it to like really make an impact on your life and how you move forward? Someone that I used to work for that I love dearly, I have to throw that in because I really do, because it like really hit me hard seeing this. She was diagnosed a little bit ago with a form of breast cancer, luckily very removable. You know, her pathology came back, she's in the clear, but she went for the most aggressive treatment possible, double mastectomy. And seeing what she wrote about it was like, I'm so grateful that I prioritize my health. That struck a chord with me because, as you may have come to learn, sometimes I don't. Like, I do care about my health, but like I often put so much else above my own health that I slip into that like, well, now look at you. Like, you could have not had this whole big event happen had you fixed little things leading up to it. So that's not to get hard on myself, but I'm just saying, I'm realizing like, oh, wow, I need to prioritize my health. Like she's saying, go get the mammogram done, go prioritize.
Yeah. And I was talking to Tess about it, I think yesterday or a couple days ago, about how, I mean, we don't even have to get off on this whole tangent, but maybe it's just worth mentioning, is that sometimes our body, or maybe all of the time actually, that our body sends us signals that we choose to ignore as just something that our body does. And I think that it's really worth leaning into such signals sometimes. Like, for example, if you have been drinking too much coffee, if you had an extra latte today, but your body is feeling really anxious, and you're just like, oh, it's just like, I'm just feeling anxiety because I had a lot of caffeine. Well, that's your body signaling to you that that's too much for your body. So maybe you should knock that off.
Yeah.
Like maybe we shouldn't put so much emphasis on what our mind assumes our body is saying to us. Like sometimes it just like is telling you things like through you not having energy or through something happening. So I think that it's really worth sort of getting quiet or however that looks like for you, so you can tune into what your body is saying, because there is a lot of wisdom that our body has.
Yeah.
And we choose to ignore it most of the time.
Yeah. And part of what she was writing was like, listen to your body, like listen to your intuition. If you know that there is something you need to go investigate further, then go. Or like we have another like kind of friend of a friend who just lost one of their friends and made like a really heartfelt post about it. And you know, like you're just exposed to so much that's going on in the world tragedy wise. And if you don't let it permeate, how is it going to make an impact on you? Like, how are you realistically ever going to let that kind of guide your action? Like, yeah, we don't know how much time we have. Literally anything can happen. And sometimes I'll find myself like getting like really, I don't want to say like it's separation anxiety, but I'll get emotional. Like if Philip's leaving for work in the morning and I always say like, drive safe today. Okay. Like, and I'm looking at him in the eye, like, please drive safe. Cause I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I really hope I see you tonight, you know?
Totally.
And it just freaks me out. And I know you can't live like that, always in fear of like what's going to happen. But I think it's a healthy amount of awareness of reality of like, we are not guaranteed anything.
Right. Yeah. I definitely think that it can be healthy to observe that, like you were saying, to have that awareness.
Yeah. Because like let it guide you into being more kind and more loving, not just to others, but to yourself. And like let it help inform a decision you're going to make of, are you going to do this or that today? Like what really is the better suited option for you?
Right.
Based on how much time we have. I mean, obviously there are things like you're going to do that don't necessarily align with like, oh, I only have so much time.
That's right. Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. There are so many things that I do that does not have this message or this theme in mind. Like most things that I do. But
or even like when I get riled up about something where I know it doesn't matter, I'm like, you know, there I was getting riled up about it. And I know it doesn't matter in the big picture. And
I think that that's just maybe old programming that we haven't discarded just yet, you know, and our body and our actions just jump to that. So that's why I think that this is just worth mentioning as a theme for the week, because I know that when I pick a theme for the week, and it could be anything, it could be 10 themes, like it does have you move differently through life, and it just has you observe things. It just makes life more special, I think.
Well, I was going to say, I'm really grateful that you have the ability to notice the patterns and then to call it out. I like, if you were to say, well, what's your theme this week? I would say maybe my theme this week is like acceptance.
Okay.
Or maybe my theme could be, I don't know. I feel like acceptance can kind of like cover it, but I feel like that's like too broad. But that's kind of in every area. I'm like, I have to accept that this is the situation. I have to accept that this is change. I've had to accept that this is where I'm currently at. This is where other people are at.
Yeah. And that could even branch off, because like one of our themes was compassion for the week, and it branched off in so many other areas. And I think acceptance for you can do just that, because it's like, okay, not forcing anything, not resisting what is. Yeah, and it is cool, again, to see how interconnected everything is, because I swear if you do pick a theme, you notice how every little thing in your day relates to that theme. It's fucking awesome. Like it literally feels like I've uncovered like some language of the universe that is like deep within, and I'm being able to read it.
Well, thank God. And I was going to say, I'm glad that you are doing this, because I don't know if I don't want to say like, oh, I don't know if I would have ever done that, you know, but I just think it's a special gift that you're allowing me to like tap into by you recognizing what's going on in all these different areas and how they all kind of match, or what's the theme here. That helps me look at my life and my week and what are all the little scenarios going on. And a lot of times what's crazy is we're overlapping.
Oh, yeah.
Like more often than not, I'm like, damn, that's, I guess, my theme too, huh?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
And it does make sense because we are just so connected, which I'm literally grateful for every day.
Yeah.
And I was just laughing to myself in my mind because I'm thinking about how my theme is, what are you waiting for? And you're going to laugh at this. But then I think about little things of like how there's this guy at my yoga studio who I think is so good looking. And what am I waiting for? Because he probably won't ask me out. I should ask him out, but I'm not. But then I think, what if I die next week? I'll be sad. But then I also think, what if he's married? And I ask him out and that's fucking embarrassing. So again, there are little things where I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I'll hold off on that one.
That was a shock to my system, you saying this on the podcast. Because like
it's so
Madison
funny.
is incredibly private. Like
Yeah.
she'll get up here and she'll share her heart and stuff on the podcast. But like there's stuff that like, you know, we just keep it in the four walls. We don't put it on camera. And so for her to say that, I'm like, whoa, here we go.
Because I'm like, what are the odds of like anyone at my yoga
Let me
studio
dissect
even
that really
listening to
quick.
this?
I don't know.
And if they did, whatever, they don't know what
He's
I'm talking
hot.
about. Yeah, exactly.
You know exactly who she's talking about.
Yeah, because there's only one person where you would be like, him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For one, I think life is about getting out of the comfort zone. And like, if you feel embarrassment, as you were saying, that's just like part of the human spectrum of emotion that you are able to feel, which awesome. I also think I have this belief, and maybe it's because like I am not more goofy than you. I'm just more of like a goofy person in general.
Yes.
Like I kind of like, don't have fear of like, do they think that that's weird or ugly, or like I just kind of go for it.
I love that about you.
And so I feel like I have this belief system that it's only embarrassing if you make it embarrassing, right? Like, so if you attach this feeling of like, God, that's so embarrassing, then yeah, you're gonna feel embarrassed. But if you're like, oh, I like wanted to see if this person was like, what's their status? Like, are they available? Like, would they be interested in getting coffee with me? Then that's not embarrassing. It's not. Look, she's literally gonna crawl out of her skin. It's not embarrassing, Madison.
No, you're so right. And I
instead
agree
of-
with what
wait,
you're saying.
Hold on. Now let me finish my sentence.
Okay. You stopped your sentence, so I started talking. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Fuck, I have to reposition. Guys, this has been my whole life. I move like a turtle right now.
It's temporary.
It's temporary.
Yep.
By Thursday I'll be a different person, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Me too.
Thank God. She'll be on a date on Thursday.
Dude, maybe.
Asking someone if they like would like to go get coffee is so little skin in the game. Like, don't hype it up in your head.
I literally have the chills, dude.
Do not hype it up in your head to be this big scary moment where it's like, oh, it's not. Hey, I want to get to know you more. Do you want to get coffee? If he has a girlfriend or a wife, which I don't think he does.
I don't think he has a wife, but yeah.
Okay, but in that event, if you guys can just get to know each other as friends, you're not being like, hey, do you want to go shag? Like, you're just getting coffee.
Okay, we've had this talk about the friend thing with, yeah, I mean.
You got nothing to lose here other than
okay, so
your own.
Okay,
I'm really
would
sorry,
argue
everybody,
against
for this
that.
angle.
I would argue against that only. Yes, I totally agree. I don't have really anything important to lose in this scenario. The thing that I would lose or that I would gain.
Okay.
No, dignity. That's hardcore. The thing that I would gain from that is a bruise on the ego if he was like, no. So like that is something if I admit that is like, oh my God, my ego would be bruised if he would just be like, oh no, I'm not interested. Okay. That is a reality. Yes, I'd be like, oh, fuck, okay. And then maybe I'd think about like, okay, well, why? Like, is it because I'm not pretty enough or whatever dumb falsity I would think.
I think we can all agree that that's not what it is.
Okay, thank you. But then you would get over it. I'd get over it in 2 weeks and it'd be fine. And then maybe I would have this new take on life and be like, you know what? I can ask for what I want and I can go up to guys who I think are good looking and ask them like, hey, do you want to go out? Because again, what do I actually have to lose that is worth losing? Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. If anything, I would grow thicker skin and that would be really great. But I think it's just like the act of doing it that first or like fifth time maybe is just really scary.
Okay, Madison, you are someone who likes to read books because you like to feel things, right?
Yeah, I know.
Real life
this is ironic,
application.
isn't it?
No, real life application.
I know.
Now we're going to do it for real.
Well, we'll see. I'll give you guys an update if that actually happens. But
no pressure. I'm just saying.
No, I know. I don't feel pressure.
You know?
Well,
you never know. Listen, when Philip slid into my DMs as a joke, we've been friends for a long time. I was like, wow.
I was like, what?
No, like it was a joke. We were already like reconnected, but
okay.
he like sent a DM or something. And I was like, wow, sliding into my DMs as a joke. And he was like, yeah, shooters shoot, baby.
I mean, yeah, that's
You're
true.
a shooter. Go shoot.
Yeah. And thank you. And I do want to be a shooter. Like I want to be a fucking wolf and I want to go after what I want. So I just need to practice what I preach. It's just like, these are the beginning stages of like, okay, I'm going to do it.
You gotta rip the Band-Aid.
And then you just have to do it and be like, okay, fuck, I did it. Yeah. I was laughing with Kelly.
I'm sure people, I think you're really confusing to a lot of people because they look at you and they're like, wow, she's so outgoing and like talkative and she's so like, she has so much depth and she's so beautiful. And then to know that like you squirm over the idea of asking a guy if he wants to get coffee with you, they're probably just like, what? Like, how would you not be totally just like so easy breezy about that?
Okay, well, I'm trying to get there.
But I'm just saying,
but yes,
you've got it all going on. There's nothing to fear, young one. You've got this.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, we were making friendship bracelets, me and Kelly, when I was visiting her. And she was like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so funny if we just like made a friendship bracelet? And I'm like, for this guy at my yoga studio to hand it to him. And I was like, okay, no. And what would it say? Do you want to go out with me? And she was like, no, you could put like coffee ? And I'm like, okay, that's like such a cute idea. But then I was like, oh no. She's like, oh my God, we can make one with your phone number on it and you could just hand it to him. And I thought that was like, no, because we laughed at this later because we didn't end up doing it. But we laughed at it later because we only had letters. Oh. And I was like, how the fuck would we make one
spell it out
with numbers? Yeah, exactly. It would be like the length of like wrapping around my
it's torso. Like a lanyard.
Yeah. Just like super long.
Someone finds it, they're like,
fuck?
He gets it wrong because he has to like decode it.
Wait, what order is this in? Oh my God.
Oh.
When you go off on a tangent that like is only funny to you and the person talking.
Hopefully you're
like,
laughing.
Maybe no one got it.
I think we're all just really amazed that you have a crush on someone. This is good news.
Oh my God. It's so fun to have a crush on someone because you kind of like don't even know their life at all. You're just going off of what they present to you. So it's like you can make up all these possibilities in your brain and maybe just girls do that. But I fucking love that. Like I think it's pretty funny that we do it.
The girls aren't the only ones. We have tons of guy friends.
That's true. Where they have like this vision of you. Yeah. It's so true. So anyway, I do like that. Like I think it's like really fun because then you're like, oh my God, am I going to see him today? Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Like, yeah.
Well, to be continued, isn't it?
I guess so.
I can't wait for an update.
If there is one, but yes, I'll surely give one if there ever is an update.
Okay. Is there anything else we'd like to cover today?
You know, I think we're good.
Yeah. Overall messages. Pick up on themes of your life. Sit with tragedy so that you can move forward from a place of like, yes, this impacted me and I want to be more aligned with what I want because I don't know how much time I have. Yes.
And also something that I wrote down. So as I was saying, I just like write stuff on here sometimes. A quote that I have been liking recently is learn to ride with the swell instead of drown in it. So I like that because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to ebb and flow with it, like with what's happening in my life versus like resist it hardcore. So that's something. And
do you know what I just picked up on, guys? Did you pick up on it?
I don't know.
If you didn't already notice this entire episode,
oh my God.
That is horrible to listen to. I'm really sorry.
No, sometimes I feel like I do it a lot too. I'm like, yeah. Or I'll say something that supports your train of thought and then when we go like put together the videos for Instagram and you'll be having this amazing thought and you'll be going off on this tangent and then it'll cut to me saying, yeah. Or and I'm just like, that is just like there's no value in that, but I just want to like do that instead of just nodding because when people just listen to the podcast I can't hear that I'm agreeing with you if I'm just nodding. So there's that.
True.
Yeah. Okay, well
I like that quote.
Yeah, that's a good quote. And I saw this other one today.
Okay.
Yeah, Madison's musings. You and this moment actually need each other.
Oh.
I like that one because I was like, that makes things, when things are hurting, especially, I think that can turn it around just a little bit. Like, obviously, there are some things that just like are very painful, and you would maybe hear this weeks after and be like, you know what? I did need that moment because it, you know,
offered
made me
perspective.
this or whatever. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mad.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thanks everybody. If you're not already subscribed, you got to hit that subscribe button. Please.
Yeah. Sorry. We both wear shoes today.
I take them
we
off.
literally thought about making a feet finder.
Yeah.
And I still think about it.
It's not over yet.
It's
I mean,
not.
there's nothing but support on everybody's end of like, yeah, just do it. I just think the reality of like making a feet finder account is a humbling experience.
At least we make it together. Like that makes it less. And it's just of our feet. It's like not showing pictures of my vagina. Or
Dude, using the V. We were talking about that word in general and just like, Philip's like, yeah, Tess, you use it a lot. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to use the V word over the P word.
Yeah, say P-U-S-S-Y.
Yeah, I'm not going to refer to that as my...
No, it's way better to say the V.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys. Have a great week.
So much for listening and talk soon.
Bye.